Alright, if you saw the last video, I modified this basket to fit Avery's giant bike better by cutting the wald stays in half, drilling some extra holes, and making some lengtheners out of this piece of aluminum. What is it? 1/8 by 3/4 by 4 foot long. It was like 13 bucks at a hardware store or something. And in this video, we're gonna get his Dynamo set up. So he bought some used wheels off Craigslist, the Dynamo hub. I went on the old Facebook and found these lights. They're like a B&M knockoff. They seem really nice. I've used them on a couple other bikes now. They're on my Terrier parked out front. They're like an Edelux 2 kind of knockoff. The lens, the reflector. It's like 28 bucks for this light. I've been very happy with mine so far on my other bike. It only comes this one style of mount. It's the very B&M style mount. It's made to go through your fork crown. That's silly. That's a bad place for your light. It's all the way back. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to put this light underneath the basket, chilling down here. So it's tucked and out of the way. You can bang the basket on bike racks and other bikes. Things you're leaning against never bash or move the light. It's more subtle, so tweakers are less likely to spot it and try and steal it or break your stuff. So we got that. The only one in the front, this kit comes either single front or with a rear. I've got the taillights a little big and ugly and weird too, but I also think I'm going to mount it. I think I'm going to mount it vertically off a rear rack boss. It's got these 2 bolts in it. They're really made to bolt onto the back of a rear rack. A lot of racks have like a little light mount or reflector mount. That's cool. But I think I'm going to do this is what I did in my Terry, some real subtle off the rear rack mount. It's vertical, weird, cool, bright, in the street. And I'm just not going to charge him for it and see if he thinks it's cool or whatever. This is my friend Avery, who mostly comes over. He's going to learn how to work on his bike. He's moving to Ireland in a small town on the wrong coast. No bike shops or towns nearby. So I'm going to slowly show him how to work on his own bike. But he's sort of getting sick of it, I think. And now that I'm here full time and we're both busy, he decided to start paying me. He's never paid me before. I know he's gone to other shops, I guess. They probably charge him outrageous money, but I charge outrageous money for stuff. I haven't seen the labor menu at other shops. I actually probably charge less than most shops. So we'll see. But I think I'm going to keep the theme going. Usually I take like an old single pivot brake arm and cut it down and make like a cool swoopy light mount. But I'm kind of thinking about keeping the theme going. It'd have to be a pretty extreme angle on this to do what I want to do. Actually, well, I don't know. Sometimes I've used like thin, like the Velo Orange, like thin little light mount, and it just wiggles like crazy. This is a pretty thick piece of aluminum. I think it'll be okay. I might use this. I might go to the brake arm. I think about using this on the rear too. Let's do it. First thing I'm going to do is take this bracket we're not going to use off. So, this is bike stuff. It's an 8mm nut on the M5 bolt. It's cheap, it's not cool, it's not special. I don't care about it at all. All the way off Broham. Away with thee. Ordered 4 or 5 of these lights I'm using on projects. Starting to pile up. I used to do a lot of B&M stuff at Norther. We put Dynamo lights on all the semi-customs and customers' bikes, all of our customs. I used to have just 20 or 30 of these things floating around. I want it here. God, I could almost kind of come straight off this stay is one of the double wall basket stays with just like a zillion holes drilled into it. Oh, duh. I could just ignore everything and just bolt it straight through with a bolt and a spacer into one of these holes. What was I even thinking? Now, I have a trick I like to do for these. I recommend it. I do a bolt, a washer, a star lock washer to go against the plastic, another star lock washer on this side, the spacer, then through the stay, and then like, a washer and a nut. So now we got 2 star washers pinching this thing for a little extra friction so it doesn't just go blip every time you hit a bump. So we're going to work on that. I'm going to dig through my spacers and dig through my bolts and find something cool. To the wall. Oh, stuff. Stuff. So much stuff. It's a bunch of M5s. Yep. E-bike, we're doing the smart thing I like to do on a lot of these bikes where I go silver, black, silver. So if I mix match a lot of stuff on purpose, then if I have to mix match something, like I don't have any long black bolts or whatever, it looks good and purposeful. So we're going to stick with that theme. Bolt through. This bolt is exactly long enough if I can find exactly the right spacer. It'll only leave me like a 1/4 inch on the end or something, a little more than a 1/4 inch. Oh, I'm not. Those 2 washers, yeah, this bolt's fine. I'll see if there's one that's slightly longer for a little more variation. I got so many bolts. Oh, here's one that's just exactly slightly longer. Exactly what I want, right on top. Tight. Here's a bunch of brand new M5 nylocks. I really prefer the nylocks. They don't come loose. They're nice. Everything else is a lie. Here I got just a bunch of used washers mostly, some new, stuff out of kit, stuff I haven't used, stuff that's come off a bike. It's too nice to throw away. Let's grab some washers. What I want is star washers, what I always use before the old shop was star washers. I don't even know if I have any. I have to run over to the hardware store and scream. Got this whole kit. It's got everything but washers. Got this kit. It's just washers, but no star washers. This kit is everything but washers. And yes, I did say but washers. Here's a bunch more new M5 stuff. Everything but star washers. Whoa. Whoa. Here's some random hardware and no star washers. Here's a big metric hardware kit I got at a swap meet. Ah ha ha, it's got star washers. So when I'm talking about star washers, I am talking about these little guys. Little grippy, sharp, little star washers. Tight. So let's go. Bolt, regular washer. Star washer, light, star washer. Now we need a big spacer to space the light off the rack stay so it doesn't hit, but leave just enough on here to get a nut and washer. I am obsessed with spacers. I hoard and save spacers. It's all Fender stuff. Here's spacers. Spacers are expensive and hard to find when you just need just spacers. It's a cool medium-sized black one. Oh, bro, that might be the one. Mostly, these are the most common spacers. They're silver, aluminum, hollow. They come with a lot of fender kits for disc brake bikes to space it off so you can bend your fender stay and use a long bolt and avoid, not rub the disc brake. So I have a lot of these. I usually cut them down to lengths and pieces for different projects and things. This one's just a little bit longer. I don't know. Let's throw this junk in and see if we can make it work. Camera angles and bad lighting. This is what I got. Oh yeah, that clears. A little lock washer mostly has a spacer inside there. This little M5 nylock nut on there. Oh yeah. I'm gonna hold it with this M5 or with this 4mm Allen. And I'm gonna hold this side with the 8mm and turn whichever one turns. We don't want to tighten it all the way down. We want to have tension on the light so you can still move and adjust the light by hand where it won't fall, which is about exactly where it is. I give it one more squeeze just because. Not too much, I don't want to crack the plastic. I want to be able to adjust the light by hand. Baller. Get some more light by going like this. So baller, I got the light on here. I got the mount, the wires. We're gonna run this wire down the inside of this stay, down the inside of the fork blade, do a little loop, and we'll plug it into this little SP connector. The things I do for our videos. Probably use black zip ties to hold it in place. They might be more subtle. Here's the taillight wire. If you don't use the taillight, you can, bundle this all up and zip tie it and hide it up in here, or hide it on this, or whatevs you want to do. The nice thing about zip ties is we can sort of zip tie it in place where we want it, and then wrap the rest around and tuck it up and do stuff later. And I do recommend leaving a couple inches of extra wire to plug into this hub. That way when you go to unplug it, I always do the hub up or forward and never do it down, because it's like really hard to get around here. Do it straight back. Do it somewhere where it's easy to get at. I think I'm going to go back. Now if I had fenders and racks and all that stuff over this bolt, I might go forward or something. Let's find some zip ties. Oh, on these. On these. I don't have any little tiny black zip ties, or if I do, I don't know where I put them. But this bag has some big giant ones, and that's good enough, I guess. Gotta start somewhere. One zip tie. Two zip ties. Now, if you have a real thick, crappy fork, you could probably drill some holes and run the wire internally. I've done lots of fancy internal stuff on my handmade bikes. It's always a nightmare. It's never worth it. If you have any problems, it's a nightmare all over again. So, I don't really recommend it. Zip ties are kind of ugly and whatever, but they sure do work, and they sure are easy to deal with later. Let's wrap all this wire, all this extra. We'll tuck it inside this stay where you can't even see it. Pop a few zippies on it too. Really wrap it up where all this extra wire is. Couple up. If you're not pinching the zip tie against the sharp edge of the metal, it will cut or short or have issues. Pop another one down here. Cool. 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 Alright, I zip tied his connector up here. The wheels didn't come with them. They always lose them. I don't know, people can't just keep things with the things. So to go online and order a new connector for like $6 with like $6 shipping. I made him get 3 just in case he loses them or gets more wheels or whatever. Why not have a backup? It's only a couple extra bucks for the part. Shipping's the expensive part. So these connectors work with these wires. These wires, 2 little wires, and there's just little plastic end caps on. So just little wires. I like to make sure they're as twisty as possible so they won't just fray everywhere when you try to run them into stuff. These little connectors, a little gray piece, has a hole, 2 holes in the top, 1 for each wire, and then a little flat on the sides. The wire goes through the top and then wraps around the exposed wires on that little flat. And then it clips in to the little black part. Clip, clip. And then the whole thing clips onto the hub. And usually most lights, it does not matter. The voltage can run either direction. They don't care. And these wires, this connector is built good. These wires have not enough of that silver stuff hanging out. So I put it all the way on and it slides down, and there's only like 1 millimeter of that silver stuff to go up on the connector. That's probably enough. I don't trust it. This connector has room for like 6 or 7 mils. I'm going to strip a little more of the black housing off this wire. This is something you can carefully do with a razor blade. Or I have these wire strippers, which are for automotive, and I honestly don't know. I used to have some yellow ones out of the old shop I found that were like extra small. I don't know if these will be small enough strip this wire, but we will try. And they are not. I gotta find some weird little smaller, not car specific ones. Cool. Looks like it might be razor blade time. I love getting up and off the floor 5 times for one little project. So fun. So here is a little super cheapo, 99-cent box cutter from Harbor Freight. Where there's a will, there's a way. You don't need fancy tools. They just make things faster and easier. The nice thing about this wire being so long is if we screw up and cut it or break it, there is plenty of extra wire. We just slip a little bit more out of the zip tie. So I'm going to try and carefully cut back 5 or 6 millimeters of this housing. I used to go all the way around with like a little sawing action. Sometimes you can do that and just slip the whole thing off. Sometimes. I used to use real razor blades for this, high quality, nice razor blades, not 99-cent cutters. I'm just cutting around, and as soon as I feel metal in there, I'll move into the next spot, try and cut just the plastic and not take the metal. And just like that, I slipped off another 5-6 mils. Now this wire is plenty extra long. Get twisty, baby. Same thing over here, just cut barely through, all the way around, twisting it in my left hand so it's spinning in my fingers very slowly. The plastic feels totally different than the metal. You can feel the metal when you get down to it. It's grindy. I'm going real gentle. Try not to cut any actual. If you remove one wire out of the strand, it's not a big deal. There it is. Another 5 or 6 mils. Twisty. Probably actually took too much off. I'm always paranoid. I always do stuff like that. We always fold it back, so I'm folding it around. The thing is, the wire's got to attach to this connector, not touch each other. They're a little bit messy. It's not a big deal as long as they're not actually touching each other to create, like, a circuit. I want them to be isolated. All right, so the wire's on. I clipped the little plastic clip in. I did it all with my camera down here to get close-ups. Now it just plugs into the hub. This is not the SP connector, it's the Shimano, but they're essentially the same. It just doesn't clip all the way in quite as tight. Makes it easier to want to take it off. Now you spin, and the light is already on. Sometimes they have to spin for 5, 10, 15 seconds to build up a charge in the light. It charges a little capacitor battery. Sometimes it doesn't really work until that thing's built up, so it takes a few seconds, no worries. If it never starts, then there's a problem with your wires somewhere. Something's not connected, something's not hooked up. But beautiful. All right, now we just got to trim these zip ties. Make them nice and sharp. I pulled them pretty tight. They're probably fine. I like these little dikes or side cutters if you prefer. It does leave these ends really sharp, so sometimes I'll put the ends in. In this case, the ends are down. So you can hit them a lighter to make them softer. I might just hit them with a little tiny file for like 2 seconds each just to take the sharp part off so you don't stab yourself or the customer doesn't stab himself. So that was easy peasy. Now the trick is if we want to run the rear light, how in the heck do you do that? There's no good way of running a rear light that isn't internal and built in. So what I would probably do in this case is you can zip tie it along the bottom of the basket, hope it doesn't get caught, then maybe wrap it up along this brake cable, switch over to this brake cable, wrap it along that, all the way to the back, down to the other brake, just run the cable, and then pop over the bracket. That's probably what we're gonna do. There's not really a better way. Not really. On my custom bikes, I usually have a braze-on down here for it, and the braze-on inside the fork or on the fork, on the outside or the inside, so it can come up, pop inside the frame, wrap underneath the bottom bracket, go up the seat tube, pop out a special braze-on for the compass tail light, or some other shenanigans like that, which is kind of a lot. But in this case, I think we'll just do some subtle wrapping. I think the wire will be long enough. Most likely, hopefully, probably. So let's do that. But first we should make a bracket. So here's this piece of aluminum. Here's this light. I think my plan is to bolt it on like this, drill some holes, but then the frame eyelet's over here, so I'm going to twist the end in the jig for the frame eyelets. I'm going to cut it a little long. There's plenty of room to twist, and there's some extra room to futz with, because this stuff takes about a half a second to cut with a hacksaw. It is no big deal. So, as I'm about to demonstrate now. Hacksaw. Just like that. Some unedited awesomeness. I think gonna put it in the old drill press and drill this hole, and then try and get this bend in and just right before I drill the other holes, just to make sure everything's working, get the right length and all that kind of stuff. So just like the other video, I'm gonna skip a step. I'm gonna take the old center punch, try and mark this hole, and hope it doesn't wander all over the place like it's apt to do. Meow. This is a step down drill bit, so it's really small and it goes bigger and bigger and bigger as you go. I'll knock it up probably the second notch. It's probably a little too big, but then we got a little wiggle room. And you can absolutely do this at home with a hand drill. I mean, you can probably do it with anything, really. You probably. I've seen guys make holes and stuff by punching a nail with a hammer through it, and punching a bigger nail or running a reamer or doing anything you want to size it up. So you don't need a drill press. Hand drill's fine. Okay. I want it to twist this way. I'm going to clamp this in here low enough. I got my big, giant 15 millimeter adjustable absolute beefcake adjustable wrench. I'm going to turn it down, stick it on here, tighten it down, and we're going to go, bro, work. Nope, it just tore. This was stainless or steel to probably work. Maybe if I gave it some more space, it would work. Just tore. Did not like that. I can do things like, let's try it again. I can do things like anneal the metal. I can heat it and make the aluminum soft. I think I'm going to come up a little higher, see if adding some space helps. Doesn't have to bend right so close to the vise and bits and things. There's lots of room for the bend instead of just seems like it worked. It's got a real big bend now. I held it up, I like it, I'm in. For the new drill hole, a lot closer to the edge. We'll get it drilled, then we'll cut off this extra and round it and make it pretty. Just a little light metal fab, NBD. New hole. So fast, so easy. And this is a deburring tool. It's a little sharpened metal on a hook, so you can go around and just take burrs off of things like freshly drilled holes. The last video I used a giant drill bit. I since put it away and I'm too lazy to get it back out. Come on, this is almost working. Cool. I'm gonna mark it with a Sharpie. Sometimes I'll hold a quarter or a nickel or something up to make it like a nice curved radius, and that's where I'm gonna cut it and grind it all off. But let's also stick this light on and mark its little holes. I'll stick it down about as close as possible so I don't want it sticking up into the ether. These little T-nuts are in little slots, they can move around quite a bit. I'll just mark them about where they are. But the holes a little off. Right up into the ether. Slotty. Little X's on them so I get my centers on both ways. You can really measure all this stuff out. My eye's pretty good. Drill press wanders. So that should be gorgeous. So I'm going to trim this side just above there too. We fit it in the drill press this way with a twist. Is the twist going to muck us up? I don't know. Doesn't look that way. You can also just deburr it by flipping it over. Except we gotta recenter it. Nice. Beautiful so far. Same thing, we're going to trim it, round it, make it look fairly subtle and nice. I'm going to hacksaw these guys short and we'll grind her up and it'll be tight. And I sort of cut it as a slash and come over and do the other side of the slash too, so the grinding process will be a lot less grindy. This side's going to be a little trickier. There we go. Got it most of the way there. Breaking the rest of the way off. I'm gonna clean it up with this grind axe. And there we have it, more or less a light bracket. It's aluminum, it weighs nothing. It's super light. I'm gonna clamp that dude in here. Bolt the light on and see if it fits and can clear this brake cable and blah, blah, blah. It's aluminum, it's really easy to bend. Let's try it. There it is, bracketed awkwardly. The brake cable's kind of touching it. It's not really an issue. Always bend it more. Whatevs. Let's put this on before we freak out. I'm going to replace these nuts. I'm sure they're fine, but I'm going to replace them with nylocks because I like nylocks. Hop-a-doo. It's like so cool. It's like so cool. Just get my fingers in this tight little space. Little 8mm ratcheting guy. too low. It's touching the bend. Maybe. Come on, these little T-nuts are on like little slots. Slot around, slotters. Maybe they're all the way up. I might notch. Take this off or notch it. But do something. It's just too close to that bend. You can notch the bend, or let's get these T-notches to light slide up. It's right where I wanted that. Oh yeah, there. Come on. There we go. Slid them all the way down. Where'd that nut go? We'll never know. Fine, I'll get a new one. I don't care. If you haven't gotten yourself a ratcheting wrenches yet, I highly recommend them. They're amazing. All right, this guy is on. It's a little bit weird. Use a little bit more twist. Maybe I'll stick something in here and try. Not break the light. Maybe you won't care. I just gotta hook up the back wire and run it subtly up and down and around the most awkward way possible. I don't know where my camera just shut off. But I showed you the close-up of the tail light. These are pre-crimped ends on the long wire, so I just plugged them in and I'm just doing a wrap around this rear derailleur housing, jumping over to this front brake housing, wrapping down here. Then after wrapping down here and down this wire, I'm just going to come to the front basket. I'm not going to wrap the basket because stuff is going in and out of the basket. I'm also going to leave a little stretch in that wire right here so the brake cable can move freely and not have any issues. Zip tie. Do the corners of the basket, so I'm getting the north-south wire and the east-west wire, just so it's not going to move around and do weird stuff. Then I'm going to come down and just plug right into these guys. And again, I don't think it matters which plug, or does it work right, I will flip them over and around. And I'll take these extra zip ties. I'm gonna make little knots. I'll refold this guy up. Out of the way, zip tie. And zip tie it somewhere out of the way. I guess I could go right back inside. Kind of want this wire out though. In case I need to mess with these plugs. Come on. Let's do one zip tie up here. Come on. Zip tie this bundle of wires up. There's the plugs. And let's just test it before I... Oh, the backlight totally works from my vantage point. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Tuck the rest of these wires up under the stay, just like these old ones. That's slightly awkward, we don't care. Do her up, let's do two of them just to make a match. I guess I could leave that bundle out. Let's just zip tie them. Just cut the zip ties and you have to mess with it. There's always more plastic in the world. There's just so much plastic. Zip tie, zip tie, zip tie. Let's trim the zip ties and not cut the wires. The trick, I've seen people do it. Pay attention, what's in your pliers? Or side cutters. So that is basically it. We can come around here and add some zip ties to anything if the wire seems loose or annoying or whatever. So let's play with this wire and see what it's doing. All right, let's take my handlebar tool off and make sure the bar is turned. It's not yanking the wire anywhere, making it real tight. It's a little tight on the side, but still super loose. Loose as a goose. It's not touching the brake cable, so there's no big deal. It's really loose around the derailleur, so it probably won't make the shifting bad. Probably. Make it real tight, not a bunch of zip ties for it to bind up on. Could mess with your shifting. I don't know if you can see it, but it lights up. It's not super bright. It's not charged yet either. We got Dynamo wires. Can you see that light? Boom! Not super bright, but two little LEDs and it's got a full reflector. It's pretty tight. Cable touches it, but it's under no tension at all. Doesn't even know it's there. That could be a lie. This side's moving a lot and that side's not. I might just adjust this brake. Or I could bend this in and back a little bit. Doesn't seem like that's not touching and it didn't change his brakes. His brake needs a little adjustment. Anyways, let's turn that spring adjuster in. Cool. I have shot way too much video for today, but I'm gonna do one last thing on Avery's bike. We got this old vintage Sagino Ritchie 1775 cranks. I'm gonna switch a single ring on, a bash guard, pop them on, hopefully he can use the same bottom bracket, and I'll swap the bottom bracket. And make this one by, I like these cranks, but he just wants to try these longer ones. I'm gonna swap them on, there's no room on my phone to do it. So I'm just gonna do it without, and maybe we'll let you know how that goes in another video if he likes them. These cranks also might get a real polish and go on his brand new Rivendell, but I did order some VO cranks. But he loves these, they look good on that rib. So that is my video on wiring up some dynamo lights on Avery's very sick 64 centimeter Trek commuter we've been working on for him for a while. $40 bike's only got $400 or $500 in it now, but it's pretty sick and he loves it. It's fun. So thanks for watching.